Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the July 16th meeting of the Las Virgenes-Malibu Council of Governments Board. Will the executive director please call roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Paul Grisanti, Doug Stewart,
Present.
Kelly Honig,
Present.
Penny Sylvester,
Present.
President Weintraub.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? If there are no changes, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Penny Sylvester moves to approve the agenda.
I second.
Aniko for the second. Terry, will you please call roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Doug Stewart,
Aye.
Kelly Honig, Penny Sylvester,
Aye.
President Weintraub.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we are moving on to our public comment period. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the governing board? Terry, have you received any public comments electronically?
I have not.
Since we have no public comment, we will move on to item number 4, which is our consent calendar. The consent calendar items will be approved in one motion unless removed for separate discussion or action. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent calendar? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar. Second.
Approved and second. Will the executive director call the roll?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Doug Stewart,
Aye.
Kelly Honig,
Aye.
Penny Sylvester,
Aye.
President Weintraub.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to our information items. And our first item is a presentation by the Sheriff's Department host team. I'd like to call Deputy Sheklow to make the presentation.
Good morning, Deputy Sheklow from Host. How are you?
Great. Thank you for being here.
Sure. I was not aware of a presentation, and I apologize for that. I've been on vacation for the last couple of weeks, so I'm a little bit out of it. What were you guys hoping for me to present?
Yes. And up, or Terry, you can take it.
Well, this is, I've been going back and forth with Bill Kitchen and the other folks that are in the leadership of the host team, and was informed that you were making the presentation to discuss the host team activities and to provide an update on the hiring of a captain from the fire department to be part of the host team who's an arson investigator. And then,
Yes, sorry, I apologize.
you know, okay. And then
Yes,
I was, go ahead.
This is Captain Rich Ruelas. He can give his update, and then I will provide my own introduction.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, sorry about the presentation mix-up. That's my fault, and I'll do better next time. I have whatever information you guys need. As far as our activities down in your guys' region, we've been trying to make it out there at least once or twice a week, doing that the fire season has come upon us. We've gone out there and done, like I said, at least once to 2 very high fire severity zone impact outreaches in all the areas. I've gone out actually with Gabriel Graham, and we've done cleanup in the Agoura Hills area, also part of the very high fire severity zone. We've given out a lot of educational informational pamphlets to all of the people experiencing homelessness in those areas. We've come across a bunch of individuals that have what we've seemed to think is fire starting materials or that have started fires. We've removed them immediately from the areas. Trying to think what else we've done. We're actually going to be in the Malibu area tonight, doing some parking enforcement all along PCH for all the RVs that are violating the no overnight parking all along PCH, also to help deter anything to do with fire or excessive trash. So that'll be tonight. And then we have an upcoming 2 cleanups, one in Zuma Beach, and then another one further down PCH in a small encampment. And as far as Captain Rails, he'll make his own introductions. But yes, a while back, our captain went ahead and got assigned to us a permanent fire captain from LA County Fire to help us investigate arsons in all our very high fire severity zones, along with any other fires that we believe is arson, with some of the RV cleanups that we do throughout the county. That's pretty much all I have for you guys.
Thank you so much for that update. Was there someone else was on the line who was going to provide some additional information?
Rich.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. This is Captain Rich Relis, LA County Fire Arson Investigation Unit. I have been, since September, assigned to the host team. As Deputy Sheklo said, it was to investigate fires related to persons experiencing homelessness, both in the RV encampment scenario, as well as in the high fire severity zones. And ancillary duty that I've been asked to do is to do tracking of homeless related fires in the brush, which would affect the general Mesa, Los Virgenes, Lost Hills, Calabasas, Topanga, Malibu area. And so I have been tracking that since the beginning of this year. I can report that to date, getting my notes here, sorry. To date, well, I'll break it down. December, there were 6 fires in the high fire severity zone in that same area. January, there were only 2. None of these amounted to a second alarm fire. These were all just starts in the urban wildland interface area, which is the foothills, or on grasslands adjacent. So December, there were 6. January, there were 2. February, there were 3. March, there were 4. April, there were 3. May, there were 4. June, there were 4. There is no marked increase as the summer months have now hit us, which is a good sign. It tells me that your host team is doing their diligence in patrolling and advising the PEH community and warning them against warming fires, warning them against fires started for cooking purposes in the brush, which is always ill-advised. I know they have been going out there, and I know they have been tracking individuals where they have been living and where they have set up a community. And I'm thankful for their work. If and when the opportunity arises to actually investigate a fire in the brush in those areas that are attributed to homelessness, I look forward to the opportunity. I hope it doesn't happen, but I look forward to the opportunity to investigate it and to come up with some results. As I said, I gave you my breakdown. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. I do function at times as a liaison to the fire department on things other than arson investigations, but in a limited scope. Obviously, can make phone calls, find out some information on certain fires and certain pressing issues, but I try to keep within the scope of doing host outreach, arson investigation as it relates to PEH. If there's any questions, I'll field them now.
Thank you so much for that update and for all the work that both of you are doing. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, everybody. This is Sergeant Suarez. I apologize for being late. I'm out of training, but I was managed to step out and jump onto this call. I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity to come and talk with you guys. I apologize for any misunderstanding in if you needed a more formal presentation with PowerPoint pictures. We can put something together for you later if that's what's needed. But just as a point of if anybody is interested, Rich, can you explain what you mean by a second alarm fire?
Yes, of course. So typically on a first alarm, bless you, whoever that was. Typically on a first alarm fire, the amount of engines is 5 engines, along with the battalion chief, along with the patrol, which is a smaller engine which has the capability of shooting water, as well as the air support services gets activated along with the dozer team. That's a first alarm brush assignment. And so if it's handled with a first alarm brush, it's considered mitigated at its lowest level. Typically less than 10 acres, typically something that's handled with the first alarm response. A second alarm response then requires 5 more engines, some camp crews to come and beat the weeds, if you will, in order to cut a line around the fire. And so additional air support, mutual aid with either our Quebecs, which come from Canada, which are the larger water dropping helicopters, or mutual aid with LA City or CAL FIRE or Angeles National Forest Services, who will also assist on a second alarm. So there have been none of those second alarms in the area that we are talking about here. We have had some in the Antelope Valley. We have had some in the mutual threat zone. Not take any actions. If you have them, that's an option of a second alarm fire.
Thanks, Rich. And again, Sergeant Suarez, just to add a little bit more context. So Rich joined our team back in August when we launched the RV HEP pilot, which was commissioned by the Board of Supervisors. One of his main missions, what we found during the pilot, and let me back up a little bit more. The reason for the launch of the pilot, if you didn't know, was the point in time count, I believe it was in 2022, of over 7,000 RV dwellings in LA County, with a vast majority of them in Holly Mitchell's area, followed by Hilda Solis's area as well, and also Catherine Barger right up there. So one of the things we had discovered in all of these RVs is that our folks believe that they are in shelter. They don't believe that they were homeless necessarily because they have their basic necessities at hand. They have 4 walls, a bed to sleep in, potentially a restroom. The problem that we've all known is they're illegally tapping into utilities, so water, and electricity from different panels unlawfully, and then also the discharge of waste down our sewers. So we began looking at that and assembled a team. One of the other issues we found was an Airbnb style of operation from what LAPD has coined van lords. We have individuals who are renting or purchasing RVs and putting them out on the streets, and renting them on either Facebook Marketplace as 1-bedroom apartments or Craigslist to individuals who just can't afford to rent an actual dwelling. So we've been working all together. It's a large team with County CEO, Homeless Initiative, LA Sheriff's host team, LASA, and now County Fire to address these issues. One of the things that we found with the van lords was individuals who are being charged rent when they're not able to pay. There was a lot of retaliatory fires to burn them out potentially, or disputes. Since Rich has joined our team, primarily we saw a decrease of these type of arson fires by what's attributed to about 85%. So his joining our team has been tremendous. And now that we're in the very high fire season, he has transitioned to that, especially up in your guys' areas in the foothills, along with host attention to that prevention. So I'd like to open it up to any other questions, and we're here for that.
This is Captain Relis again, if I might add. I realized in my description of the fire severities, I may have minimized what the impact with our fire crews. I would stress that even though I said a second alarm is triggered at around 10 acres, obviously 100, 50 homes can be damaged in 10 acres. That I didn't mean to minimize what a 10-acre fire could cause, but I'm happy to announce that it never got to that. Most of our fires in the area were held to less than an acre and were controlled with relative, thankfully with some ease with the first alarm assignment. I know what kind of trauma Malibu has certainly suffered in the last few years. So I didn't want to minimize what a 10-acre fire could do, because I know it could be devastating. I just wanted to clarify that. But we have done our crews on LA County Fire and the direction of our chiefs have done a great job. So just wanted to kind of add that in there.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Paul, would you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
I have a question for Sergeant Suarez. I was very interested when you talked about the landlords who are buying these motorhomes and leaving them parked and then renting them out like Airbnb. Because I'd recently started hearing reports that most of those motorhomes down along the Palisades and basically just south of Malibu are vacant, just sitting there empty most of the time. Is there anything that can be done, or does there have to be somebody there to cite them and remove them?
Thank you for the question. Are you talking about the individuals on Pacific Coast Highway?
I am.
Okay. So one of the things that we've seen, what we're doing in the way of addressing these issues, if when we go and assess and we find that an RV is truly encamped by somebody who is experiencing homelessness, it will trigger the homeless encampment protocol for us. We then begin to work with them to find out, where we can do placements. My direction to our teams at this point is, if we find them unoccupied, they don't seem to be inhabited, and if it is directly related to maybe what appears to be landlord type of operations, most of the time what we're finding is these operators are not registering their vehicles, so they're out of registration. There's a myriad of California vehicle codes that we can tow for. Our teams will tow those vehicles if they're unencamped and considered abandoned. Particularly, there's a vehicle code which is 22669D, which is David of the vehicle code, which indicates that if it's missing any parts, wheels, doors, windshield, anything that would allow it to be readily movable on the roadway as it should be, is immediately removable by law enforcement without the need for a 72-hour notice. Now, when they are registered legally, they're up to date. Even if they're approaching that 6-month past registration, if they have all their parts, they have all their wheels, and it appears as though it's movable, we're required to red tag it with a 72-hour notice, so that the individual has an opportunity to come back and claim their vehicle or move it. That has been both a challenge but also a success. To date, we have towed over 470 RVs now from the county area. Additionally, with that, there have been some challenges. One is our tow companies don't have the space at their tow lots in order to store these large vehicles. Obviously, they're a for-profit business. When you have an RV that is taking up a large amount of space, and the reality, what we were seeing, they weren't the registered owners weren't coming to claim them at the end of a lien sale. So they had no choice but to put them back out on the market. And it was this vicious cycle that was happening, where they would buy them at auction for $100, $200, either pay the tow company a couple $100 to drop it right back out on the street, and we'd be right back in the same process. So what the county has done to combat those types of issues, and I apologize if I'm giving you more information than I think I've answered your question, but I just wanted to give this information. The county has partnered with CEO to acquire storage lots. We do public-private partnerships with any businesses in the area that may allow us to borrow parking lots, secured places. We put those LVT units, the kinds you see at Walmart or Home Depot, that with the blue lights and the cameras, and we secure them that way, because the law requires us to impound a vehicle and then provide certified mail to the last legal owner, registered owner, or interested party, with an option for a post-tow hearing. It's their 10-day requirement for us, and we have to allow for that. And then the vehicle does go to lien, which is approximately 15 to 30 days, depends on the value assigned to the vehicle. If it's in a dilapidated condition, we request junk liens, which is historically 15 days, but because we're doing so many now, the DMV has backed up. We're required to hold these vehicles in impound while they get processed. And the other thing that changed is there was no mechanism for recycling of these vehicles. So that's why we saw the vicious cycle. We have entered into a contract with recyclers, one in particular, SA Recycling, to make sure that we're meeting all environmental standards in dismantling these vehicles. And it's come at a great cost. We're probably spending close to $3,000 per RV for dismantling, because the vast majority of them are full of trash, debris, and most of the vehicle is non-recyclable. The county does get like a metal recycling fee of, at maximum for the large ones, of about $120 that gets taken off the bill. But those have been the challenges that were occurring prior to the pilot, or now what's considered the program, because we've moved from pilot to program phase, because we're seeing the success of it. So that's what we've done to combat these things. And to reiterate, if they're found abandoned and we can legally tow it right then and there, we do. Now, some of the challenges up in your area is we get charged by the hour for the tow. So we have specific tow companies we're working with, and as we reach out and grow, we try and find more localized storage areas to address these issues. I'll stop there. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, that did answer my question, and I think it's apparent that we got to get you more funding, because if you're losing $3,000 on every tow, you're providing a service that we desperately need, because otherwise the whole coastline becomes a tow yard. So thank you.
Absolutely. And the coastline is a challenge, because we're dealing with state property. We're dealing with beaches and harbors. And I've been in some meetings regarding looking at the environment and trying to address maybe some design functions. How can we better address this? Because my team has been out there to assess most of the individuals, and I think it fluctuates anywhere between 10 to 17 RVs at a time. And most of them are anywhere between $20,000 to $200,000 per rig. So these individuals are definitely taking advantage of the scenery. There's a lack of enforcement. Now, the other thing that I love to explain, what does enforcement look like in today's day and age in LA County? We can cite. There are administrative sites. Now, we're waiting for clear direction from the county when it comes to, for example, no overnight parking. I apologize for the background noise. I'm outside. No overnight parking. And we've been waiting for the Supreme Court decision to come in. So everybody is, we've read through that. We don't believe that the grants past decision will necessarily affect anything that the host team does. We're still following the LA County Homeless Encampment Protocol. Primarily because of how that decision, especially the dissent from Sotomayor, really lays out what future litigation plans could be levied against the department. So all that to say is we're trying to focus on those things. We're faced with zero bail. If anybody is necessarily arrested and doesn't meet that criteria for actual being detained and jailed, we're looking at the administrative citations, and it's going to be a process. And that's something that we're working with county council and homeless deputies to try and figure out how we can either strengthen those laws, because the constituents are requesting more enforcement.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lieutenant Kitchen?
Bill, there you go. I still can't hear you. While Bill's trying to get his mic squared away, I would like to extend a personal thanks to him. He's the one that brought up the new assignment of the captain from the fire department to me when Gabriel and I attended the county homeless summit about 3 months ago. So I really appreciate, I've known him a long time, appreciated working with him, and just wanted to extend my thanks to him. I think Captain C2's on the line too, if she has any comments.
Yeah, we can go to Captain C2. Oh, wait, is Lieutenant Kitchen, is the sound working now? It's still not working. Okay, let's go to Captain C2 and then we'll come back and hope the sound's working.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys, I'm on the road headed to Orange County to meet with the assistant sheriff over there. So thank you, host team, for coming out. This is, I think, Steve McClary and I got bombarded probably with about 20 emails just over the weekend. Everybody's sending us pictures and saying, hey, okay, come out and remove all our homeless. And it's, as you can tell, it's not as cut and dry as that. So we are working with county council. I had a long talk with Billy Kitchen yesterday. What we want to do is we want to make sure that everything that we do, we have our legal standing to do it, and that in law enforcement, if you do something wrong and bring so much attention, like you've seen in the Boise decision, right? It just brings more attention and more lawsuits. That's what we want to prevent, and just do the right thing for the right reason. So as we kind of navigate this, give us some, we're going to need your support and your patience as we navigate this all together. I've had great conversations with Steve McClary, understanding that we just got to join forces and do this together. So we will be reaching out. Something that Steve and I've talked about is actually doing like an FAQ, something that right now, as it stands, we need to educate our communities of what this really looks like now, right? We need to educate them and explain, what does enforcement look like? So, just in my short conversations that I've had with county council, I mean, it's a ticket. And so that's not what the community is expecting. And so I just think that we need to, curb their expectations and educate them, and really work with our government and our county councils, our attorneys, to make sure that we're doing the right thing and being a little bit innovative on some ways that we can do other enforcement. So that is what host team is working on right now with my staff, of coming up with different alternative ways that we can kind of approach some of these problems. So thank you, host team. Billy Kitchen, thank you so much for your partnership. I really do appreciate it. And if cities, if you have any questions for me regarding the homeless, I mean, obviously the host team is the expert, but I'm happy to have any of those conversations.
Thank you, Captain C2. And I know we're all supportive of the work that you and the host team and everyone else is doing on this subject and more. I wanted to turn back to Lieutenant Kitchen if the sound is working. I don't think the sound is working, so we can always come back if it does start to work, but we can turn now to the hazard mitigation plan. And I'd like to call on Shervin Abrahami from MLC and Associates to make the presentation.
Not working. Good morning. Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
Great. Let me share my screen. Am I allowed to share my screen? It doesn't look like it's allowing me. Okay, I think I got it. You can see it here. Yep. All right. I believe you all can see my screen. Yeah, so I'm Shervin Abrahami from MLC. I've got here with me Bob Takamura as well. And the purpose of this presentation is to give you a quick status update on the hazard mitigation plan and where we are at with it. So we'll talk through the revision timeline, meaning from when we initially submitted the draft to Cal OES up until now, as well as, and not to get into too much detail there, but as well as some of the revisions that Cal OES was requiring, just to give you an idea, and what's remaining in order to complete the plan. So in January of this year, we submitted the initial draft of the plan to Cal OES. It was under review for about 4 months, and Cal OES got back to us in April with several revisions, which I'll touch on in my next slide, what those included. And so in May, we returned the revised plan back to Cal OES. And in June, we received further feedback. This time around, it was only a few revisions and a couple more details that they needed in order to approve the plan. And I should mention, our reviewer at Cal OES was very thorough. So based on what they told us, and we're hopeful, FEMA will be approving the plan. So we can really only hope at this point, but given our conversations with them and how thorough they were, we're hopeful that FEMA will be approving it. And so we sent the revised plan back to them in June. They, about a week or so, maybe a few days later, they approved the plan on their end and they sent it to FEMA in, I believe it was mid-June or so. And so it's been under FEMA review for about a month now. And so just to give you some ideas of what it was that, you know, they were requiring from us in our revisions. So this year, there's a big focus on the socially vulnerable, and we knew this going into it. And so we already had included a lot of these details in the plan, but they were really focused on, you know, specific details. So they wanted to know things like, and we already had surveys in there, and we had descriptions of, you know, how we had involved, you know, the socially vulnerable as well as really everyone else in the city, but they specifically wanted to know how they were involved in the planning process. So, you know, calling out specific surveys that we use, they specifically wanted to know the departments from each city that were conducting this outreach. And in addition, they wanted to know specifically, you know, how are these socially vulnerable populations vulnerable to each and every hazard. And so it's really just the details that they were looking for. And the last thing there on the socially vulnerable, they wanted to know, so we have, the mitigation actions in the plan from previously and any new mitigation actions that we've added. And so they wanted to know, how do these mitigation actions benefit the socially vulnerable specifically? And so a large focus was on that. There were a few other changes. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but some of the other changes they were requiring, we previously always had, in our hazard profiles where we list out all the hazards, we had flood, tsunami, and severe storm listed all under one hazard. And so this time around, they would like to break that up into their individual hazard profiles. And so while we did have, information regarding all those hazards in the hazard profiles, we had to break it up and do some further research in order to have a standalone section for those hazards. There's also a large focus on climate change. And so we have a section in there for climate change, but specifically, they wanted to know how does climate change, or rather, how do other hazards that we have in the plan, how do they impact climate change?
Or how climate change impacts other hazards, so severe heat, winter storms, that type of thing, flooding. So that's what they were looking for.
Yeah. And then the last thing there, they wanted to know if we've had any new developments that now change the vulnerability to natural hazards. So like, for example, have we had any new developments close to open space areas where, maybe that community is now more vulnerable to a wildfire. And so for every hazard, they wanted us to assess whether any new developments or, land use has changed the vulnerability there to natural hazards. And so I see a question, I'll be happy to answer.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Oh, sorry, there was one more slide, but
Oh.
I thought I saw a hand raised, and so I just wanted to answer if there was a question.
You can finish and then we can go to
All right.
questions.
And so, given where we are today, what's remaining on the plan, and so like I said, the plan is currently under FEMA review as we speak. And so the remaining events are to get approval from FEMA, and as we always do, each city to formally adopt the plan, and we'll go ahead and append those council approvals at the end of the plan, and we'll hand off the HMP over to the cities. And that's all we had for you guys. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Let's see if we can stop the screen share.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Do we have any questions?
Could I just ask a question? Sorry.
Absolutely.
What is the timeline now for when it comes to the cities for approval?
From FEMA?
No, from you. I mean, do you have an idea of when FEMA will approve it so it will come to the cities?
We don't have an exact timeline, but from our discussions with them, we were hopeful to have it, I think, within the next month or so. Because I know our plan does expire, I think, August, maybe 20th of next month, I believe. And
August,
is it
yeah,
the
August 20. It
Right.
expires August 28th. However, when I spoke with Cal OES in early June, they indicated that this was before they did the final approval of it and forwarded it to FEMA, but they informed me that FEMA has 45 days to respond. And so we believe that based upon that and the assurances from Cal OES that we're in good shape, once it's approved by FEMA and we get it back, then it would go out to all the cities. The main thing is getting FEMA's approval.
Right, yes. Yeah, the set timeline is 45 days. We've seen in the past that it can take longer than that, but they're aware of the plan expiring, and the plan is a priority for their office based on our discussions with them. And so really, we're hopeful to have it within the next month.
Yeah. They informed me that FEMA was anxious to approve because two of our cities, Hidden Hills and Agoura Hills, have pending grants with FEMA, and FEMA's anxious to get those grants out. And so there was an indication that that would make our COG hazard mitigation plan a priority.
Right.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Well, thank you for the presentation and the work on this. And Terry, thank you as well.
No problem.
Now we are going to turn to our executive director's report. Terry, would you like to give your report?
Yeah, thank you. I just have a few things to highlight. Yeah, as indicated in my report, I attended at the request of Supervisor Horvath's office, I attended the board meeting last week where the discussion of the proposed expansion was on the agenda and will be on the upcoming November ballot based upon the approval by the Board of Supervisors. And I will be coordinating with Supervisor Horvath to have her attend a COG meeting where the governing board could consider taking a position on that. Supervisor Horvath told me personally that she wanted to come out to a meeting. Hopefully it would be in person, she said, and that we could have that item on our agenda. So that was last week. The consultant is wrapping up on the Smart Cities fiber network. The consultant is wrapping up that. We've had a couple of delays, and just yesterday at our meeting, there was a very robust discussion with regard to the design engineering, which we can discuss a little bit later when the item comes up for the contract amendments. But just to briefly highlight it, the design engineering includes, running the fiber down the street, but it didn't include a detail connecting the fiber to the signals. And it was raised by the cities that that was an important component that we shouldn't necessarily leave to the contractor who would be constructing the fiber network, because then there would be a bunch of change orders. Anybody that's had anything to do with public works contracts, especially, and change orders, knows that that can be an expensive process. And with all of the signals that are included in this, I requested the consultant to get back to me later this week with a number. Of course, it would be funded through Measure M. So I want to assure the governing board, if there's any additional cost, that the Measure M would cover it. But we just felt it would be better to have that included in the construction bid documents that go out, rather than leaving it open-ended and have to deal with the change orders. So we're working on that, and I will keep the governing board updated on that. But based upon the indication from the consultant, even if we do that additional work, we still expect to be out for public bid in October. So we're still on schedule for fall, which was previously indicated. So that's the good news. And let's see, I followed up with AT&T and participated in a public workshop the other day. So that was with the PUC, that was helpful. I attended the annual State of the Agency at Metros at Union Station last week, which was good to catch up with staff that I see regularly on the screen, but never in person. So that was nice. I'm continuing to work with all of the COG cities on the Measure M funding, and it appears based upon all of the things happening with the fiber project that there will be a full allocation for the cities for this year. So we're working under that direction. I participated in the Insurance Commissioner webinar, which was somewhat helpful, but basically was a lot of rehashing of what I had previously informed the board on. And then lastly, the hazard mitigation plan, which we just went through and had a discussion on that. So things are moving along with our projects, and I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that.
Thank you so much, Terry. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Kelly.
I have a question on the, actually, maybe this is more of a question for Jeff. On AB 2797, maybe Jeff can talk about it when it's his turn. It's up to you. I just wondered what the status of that bill was. Jeff's on mute.
Yeah, I'll look it up and let you know when it's time for my report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly, for the question. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Terry. Now we're going to move on to our city reports. I'm going to start with Agoura, and let's see. And I see Lewis.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Let's see. While it's summertime, as we all know, it's been very warm. We did, as the County of Los Angeles did actually during the last heat wave, host a cooling center in Agoura Hills at the library. It was from about, I want to say it was almost 7 to 8 days. They were open on Sunday, just kind of had it open. We just kind of helped facilitate that, just getting the building ready. As you all probably saw in the Acorn, we had our first drone show, which ended up being a huge hit with the community. Probably had several thousand people at the park. It went off really well. And now people are wanting to see more, so we're working on that. Our Home Hardening Grant Program is going on very well. We have funded so far about $11,000 in grant reimbursements. We're continuing to get more interest, so we're happy about that. And this morning, I know some of the members of our council, as well as Nathan and some staff, are down at a kind of funding ceremony this morning for our bike master plan. So other than that, just, like everyone else, just kind of waiting for the HMP to kind of get done so we can get that off our plates and get that approved. And I think that's it for now. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Penny, did you want to add anything?
Yes, I would. Last week we opened an interactive display at the Agoura Hills Library for the Wallace Annenberg Wildlife Crossing. So I encourage you all to drop by and check it out. And that is going to be, I think, a permanent display in the library. So we're very excited about that. And I would just like to add that we got a great response for the drone show. We're really positive, but as Lewis said, everybody just wants more and longer. So it was an experiment this year, and we realized it was a success. So I can highly recommend it.
Thank you both. That's good to hear. I know our staff was going to be reaching out to you guys regarding that. Now we will move on to Kindon.
Good morning, everybody. Just a couple of items to report from the city of Calabasas. We've hired a new city clerk, Lisa Pope. She started yesterday, so we're really glad to have her and the years of experience. Some of you may know her. She started in her career in Malibu and was there for a number of years. And so she's really happy to be back here in the region and in the COG. So she'll be working with your city clerks and many of you on some of our collaborative processes and projects. We want to express appreciation to Congresswoman Brownlee's office, a project that we submitted for the community project funding through the Congresswoman's office is moving forward. We've been tentatively notified of about $850,000 in grant funding that will go to our Green Street project. Again, this is not final. There's, as many of you know that have gone through this process, there's still a few hurdles at the federal level with different committees and others that need to approve that. But we acknowledge the Congresswoman and her staff for their support and help in getting it this far. And we look forward to a final approval on that. We also, along with the city of Westlake Village, and congratulations to them, were recently notified that we were made the list as a fire risk reduction community. We're one of 11 communities in the state to make that list, and it helps us puts the city in a position for grant funding, but also some other opportunities with potential reductions in fire insurance. And excited to move forward with that. And again, congratulations to Westlake on that as well. And then finally, just some fun activities where had several of our We've had several of our food truck events, and those have been well attended. And then just a listening, we call it a listening forum at our amphitheater, where we have poetry and music and local talent just come and present, and those have been well attended too. And so we invite you to those different events as well. Mayor, anything else that you'd like to share?
No, thank you so much. Just to add that I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting online, as well as some of our other mayors and council members that are on this call. And Terry, thank you for going to represent the COG, although we haven't taken an official position. You were asked to be there, and it was great having that representation. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now we will move on to Marcella and Aniko from Hidden Hills.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Just a couple of things. Our Long Valley entrance project is continuing to move along. It has little delays every little while. So at this point, we're looking at a projected completion in August. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. And we will be hard at work on a grand opening and a ribbon cutting ceremony. So all you elected officials, please be looking for your invitation in your mailbox. But if August comes and goes, it probably just means the project got delayed a little bit. But actually, it's looking really lovely over there. Project is moving forward. The rains really delayed us a lot. I know it's hard to think about the rains right now, but they really moved the project quite a bit. But it's looking really nice. At the council meeting last night, the council also approved releasing an RFP for a waste hauler. This is kind of a first in Hidden Hills to go out and do a competitive bid process for a new waste hauler. So we're excited about that, hopeful that it will yield some positive results for our residents, and excited to see what comes to pass. And I know several of us are involved in this, but I'm told that our goats are just about to conclude their feasting for the season, and that one of my responsibilities as city manager is to approve their work. So I am ready to be summoned to go out and observe the performance of our goats and see if they have in fact eaten their fill, and that we are good to go. So we think that that'll be done this week, and all the brush clearance will be complete. And then just on a personal note, my last day is this Friday. I just want to thank Terry and the city managers for being such a great group to work with. It's been great to be here for the last 8 months and help Hidden Hills through the transition. And Claire Whitley will be starting on Monday, and I am sure that you guys will love her and give her the same reception that you gave me. And I appreciate the opportunity, much like Lisa Pope, to return back to my home region and be of service for a little bit of time, and really have appreciated being here. Mayor Gold, anything you would like to add?
Not much. Thank you so much, Marcella. The only thing I wanted to add that I also attended the Board of Supervisors meeting all the way from Europe. So it was a long distance call, but I'm really thrilled to hear that, or I was thrilled to attend, and also very happy that this government reform package was brought forward, because it's very rare that such reform is presented, and I was very pleased that it was approved. And it was also great to hear Alicia's comment. And after that, I did log off because I reached my limit, but I know that Terry was there, and some other council members for our region were there. So I'm I'm really glad that we participated individually, not as the COG, but individually. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Marcella, for your work as part of the COG as well. And now we'll turn to Steve and Paul.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and good luck to you, Marcella. It was good working with you. I've never had to do a GOAT performance evaluation, so I guess that falls under one of those many things city managers get to do, but I hope there's a forum or something you get to use for that. A lot going on in Malibu right now in regards to Pacific Coast Highway and safety. Of course, we remain very focused on that. Sadly, we did have another death on the highway on the 4th of July, which of course just underscores the need for all these efforts and the urgency of what we're doing. Of course, we're very happy to please that we've been working with Senator Allen's office and also with Assemblymember Irwin's staff. We've been able to make progress with the bill that would place speed cameras on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. We expect that will be likely heading to the assembly floor for a vote when they resume back in August. And if we get through that, then the next step would be to the governor's desk. So we remain hopeful on that. Caltrans is launching a series of workshops to talk about a PCH master feasibility plan and kind of a revisioning for the highway. They've done one workshop. They've got a couple more coming up on that. So getting out some good information there. The city, the last couple of weeks, we just launched our public outreach campaign to encourage people to slow down. It's called Cruise Malibu. You can go to the website cruisemalibu.org. You can take the pledge and post your pledge online. You can come to City Hall. You can sign our pledge wall. We have a number of PSAs that are going out, including some done by some of Malibu's more famous residents, including Mark Hamill. So it's been very a nice effort there, try to get everybody out. And of course, we're also putting information outside of Malibu through billboards and whatnot to encourage people to take it easy and slow down and enjoy their time as they cruise through Malibu. We're also making good progress on our signal synchronization project that is expected to wrap up in the fall. And let's see, also, we just welcomed a new mayor, and I see him on here. Mayor Doug Stewart is now taken over, and we have a new mayor pro tem, Marianne Riggins. And that is it for my report. I will turn it over to Councilmember Grisante if he has anything as well.
Sorry, this is Captain Relas. I'm going to jump in just for a second and say that I need to go to another meeting at 9:30. I'm going to be logging off. Are there any questions for fire or for host? If not, then I will give up my time and get off the meeting.
Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
So I wanted to thank Steve for expressing interest in learning how to give a performance evaluation of goats. I have a neighborhood in Malibu, Malibu West, that is now having goats in for the 3rd year in a row. And perhaps you would like to join me at the running of the goats as they parade down the street before leaving there. And I would love to see us work to have what Hidden Hills has, which is a program for the community as a whole. And it makes a lot of sense for us. And the fuel reduction is a wonderful thing. And I think that everybody should be looking into that. The other thing I wanted to mention while I'm here is on Sunday, we opened a new art show at City Hall. Our art commissioners have put on 7, I think they put on at least 6 shows a year. This particular show has all Malibu artists with art about Malibu, and they had so many submissions that they were able to put on a really incredible show. And you should come by City Hall and see it, and they'll be there for about 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you to Malibu. And now we will turn to Westlake, to Rob and Kelly.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good to see you all. Just since we have a theme of goats, I just finished evaluating the 400 goats that were in Westlake Village. They got an A+ grading. They did a great job. But the residents love seeing those goats, so that's a nice thing to have. Yeah, just real quick, we had our 4th of July event, of course. We had a big parade and festivities. Then we had big fireworks show as well in the evening. I know Calabasas didn't have their fireworks this year, so we had a lot of Calabasas folks in town. Never know how that's going to go, but it went pretty well. Of course, they were welcome. We had 7,000 people at our fireworks show this year, so that was great. We did, on more serious news, though, had a couple of fires really close to Westlake Village, 2 in Thousand Oaks, 1 in Simi Valleys, with a lot of smoke and ash coming into town. But fire response was excellent. Ventura County, LA County working together. Anytime you get helicopters pulling water from your local lake in front of Boccaccio's, it gets people's attention. But they are really, really aggressive to get that fire contained quickly. And just, applause to all of the firefighters that for the work that they do. In other news, we have a balanced budget that the council approved in June, so we're ready for the next fiscal year. So excited about that, including the recruitment and hiring of a public safety officer. So we'll be beginning that process here pretty soon. Our council's on recess in August, well-deserved break for all the hard work the elected officials do. So I wanted to mention that. And then Kelly and Ray, if you have anything to add.
I just wanted to say that last Saturday night we enjoyed another concert in the park, which was well attended. The Rag Dolls, which was an all women's Aerosmith cover band. They were great. And next weekend we're having a movie at the Civic Arts Plaza, Kung Fu Panda 4. If any of you want to enjoy Kung Fu Panda 4, you're welcome. And that's all I have. Ray, did you have any comments? Anyway, thank you. We should do something with the goats. Like we should have a goat, some sort of day or something, I think. Anyway, thanks.
You're welcome to come by. You're all invited. Marcella and I will show you our goats. They're really cute. They have baby goats too.
Thanks, everyone. Now we will move on to our public safety, legislative, and agency partners. Let's see, is Captain Cito still here? Does she have anything else to add?
Hi, just real quick. Yeah, still on the road. It's a long drive from Westlake to Orange County. The Cruise Malibu. If you guys get a chance to really look at the Cruise Malibu, I know we're all talking about speeding and everything, and I just really love what the community did. They came together. They became a whole of a community approach to handling this problem, and I just got to applaud Robin, who was part of that, had the vision for this, and I just really love what you guys are doing in Malibu. So thank you, Steve, for that. As you know, we have another fatality on PCH, although we are serving search warrants to find out the cause of the fatality. And one thing that we're newly, it's not new, but we are really pushing it for at the station is cafe incident cards. So what these cards are any incidents that deputies respond to involving alcohol or involving an incident where alcohol is sold. So we are working with ABC, Alcohol and Beverage. They will be coming out to our station and doing briefings at our station. And I will be going and meeting with their higher ups and really just talking about more of our partnership and what we can do to reduce DUIs on our streets. As you know, we have our big events during the summer. We have an AR-15 at every event. I just want to remind you of that. So obviously you don't see it. Rob, I don't think you saw really anything at the 4th of July, but we had our SWAT out there. We had long guns and we had, response teams available. So even though you guys don't see them, they are out there in any large crowds. That's really been my commitment to each of the cities. Of any large crowds, we will have a long gun readily available. Fire season coming up. Yes, we had the 4th of July fires. Thank God they didn't hit our community, but it was immediate. Drew Smith, Kevin McCown, and I just immediately got on a group chat and, okay, what does this look like and what can we do? And it's just right now we are preparing for fire season. We will be reaching out to each of you. We have a new sergeant that will be really leading up our fire efforts, and that is Sergeant Wax, Sean Wax. He is helping us out, and thank you Calabasas for already reaching out about us being able to put a Connex box in Calabasas. And again, we want to do that for every city because it's important to have that response gear ready to go, road closure equipment ready to go, so we can do contraflow on the Landeros and the Canaans, Parkway Cal, anything that we can do to get people out safely. So we will be reaching out to you. Do you have any questions for me? And before I turn it over, Marcella, it really has been a pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Really thank you for your partnership. And I hope to work with you again.
Does anyone have any questions for the captain? Well, thank you so much for everything. Have a safe drive to Orange County.
Thank you.
Now we will turn on to LA County Fire. I see Megan on the line.
Good morning, everyone. So I am now back in the office after 2 weeks away, so I'm ready for fire season and catching up on my 10,000 emails that I missed. We have our defensible space inspections are still ongoing. They're still in the initial inspections. I have some stats. So that in Battalion 5, we have 23,000 total inspections to complete throughout the region. We've completed about 17,000 of those so far. So that's about 73% of the initial inspections completed. Those should be done hopefully by the beginning of August. But like I said, they're still ongoing because there's so many of them. And then, but of the 73%, 98% of those have been compliant. So there have been very few non-compliant parcels, which is good news. And then Chief Smith and I were both assigned to the post fire in Santa Clarita last month, which started on June 15th. We were there for about 10 days, and that fire ended up being about 16,000 acres. And it's really early in the season for kind of such a big fire. So we're really preparing for the potential of a busy fire season. That's, you know, with all of the other fires going on across the state right now, we're just really trying to get all of our incident management teams ready and really push the Ready, Set, Go program for our communities. So if cities could help us push that messaging, that would be great. Just because, yeah, it could be a very busy fire season this year. And then with all of the talk of the goats and the grazing, our office and our forestry division are actually working on a project right now at 69 Bravo Hellespot in Topanga. And we are looking to set up a kind of a demonstration / press conference sometime next week because the goats are supposed to start on July 22nd. So I can send that information to all the city managers and our other elected officials' offices in case any of you guys would like to attend that and kind of see them in action. Because it seems like there's an interest in that. So I will send that info out. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Thanks so much, Megan. Now we will turn to, is Sophia on the line from Supervisor Horvath's office?
I don't see her.
Okay, then we will move ahead to, let's see, Nancy.
Good morning, everyone. I too just returned from 2 weeks away, so I have not a clue what's been going on. So truly, Jackie is on break. She actually took 4 whole days for a vacation. She's doing a lot of business visitations and meetings here in the district. They will go back in August. we don't have any real new news on any of the bills since I talked to you last, except for AB 660, which we've been working on for a couple of years. It's the food labeling bill. You might have remembered us talking about that in the past. It is finally, all people that had objections to it, I believe, in the Ag Committee have been appeased, and the bill, as Jackie envisioned it, is going through and hopefully signed by the governor. So labeling on all products will be across the board even. So all of that food waste, when we see something that says best if used by, but it still could be good for 2 weeks, it could be best by this date and still fine in another week, that will be all cleared up, so there won't be so much food waste. So that's a good one to know about. In the district, we just had a lovely event for our 6 Women of the Year. It was very inspirational. The women were nominated throughout the community, and we picked 6 of them, and there was many wonderful, wonderful nominations. So hopefully that will be something we'll be able to repeat every year. And that's really it until we go back in August and see what happens with the legislature and the budget and I was in Sicily where for my 2-week vacation, where they are starting a special program to save this very special kind of goat. There was less than 1,000 of them left. And so people within the cities in Sicily are taking these families of goats in and trying to breed this whole program to get 10,000 more goats. So I too had a goat connection.
I love it. I will turn to Kate from Congresswoman Brownlee's office.
Hello, everybody. First time being on the meeting, so nice to meet everyone. Unfortunately, I don't have a goat story, but hopefully soon I will have one. This week, the Congresswoman is in the district. She is meeting with a number of local leaders and constituents. I'm sure some of the cities know. She's currently, this is one of her July district work periods. I'm sure as you all saw, it's been an interesting weekend. Let's see here. Last week, while in DC, the Congresswoman announced the introduction of 3 pieces of legislation that support and focus on conservation practices, the reduction of global methane emissions, and the improved use of renewable energy certificates. I'll just kind of read down the list of the 3 bills. So the first one is the Soil Act, and that encourages conservation practices that benefit both soil and wildlife habitat under the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Environmental Quality Initiative program. The second one is going to be the Methane Border Adjustment Mechanism Act, which establishes a tax on methane emissions from foreign oil and natural gas producers. And the third one is going to be the Renewable Energy Certificate Study Act, which would require and direct the Government Accountability Office to conduct a study on the federal government's use of renewable energy certificates. And then, of course, over the 4th of July recess, we did have those fire incidences. Our office, along with the Congresswoman, would like to continue to monitor those events and, of course, work with the cities and the appropriate emergency personnel to help with those. And then to stay up to date on any information, of course, you can sign up for a newsletter and then follow us on social media.
Thank you so much. Davis?
Hi, everyone. As Nancy mentioned, legislature is in recess right now, so this will be a pretty brief update. One major legislative update out of our office is that Senator Allen's climate resiliency bond measure, which he has been working on for the past several years in various iterations, SB 867, was passed out of the legislature, and it was signed by, at the time, actually acting Governor Mike McGuire, who's the Senate pro tem. At the time that the measure was passed, both the governor and the lieutenant governor were out of state. So the lieutenant governor got to step in the line of succession and actually sign that measure. So it will now appear on the November ballot in this year's general election. The measure would allocate $10 billion for climate resilience projects up and down the state. That includes projects to combat sea level rise, wildfire prevention, expanding our green spaces in state parks, parks, in investing in open space conservation. We're very, and extreme heat mitigation as well. So we're very excited about that measure making it onto the ballot. And there should likely be a robust campaign that's already coming together in the next couple months to try and get that passed. As for the rest of our legislative package, there should be more updates next month once the legislature reconvenes and we have a better idea of what's going to head over to the governor's desk. As Steve mentioned earlier, we're very happy that our SB 1297 continues to move along to try and get those speed cameras installed in Malibu. One minor housekeeping note as well. This is actually going to be my last COG meeting. I am leaving Senator Allen's office at the end of this month. I am moving to Chicago for law school. I do have a colleague on here, Nick Ferries. I'm not sure if he's in transit or if he's at his computer, but I can, if he is there. So I'm gonna pass it over to him to just quickly introduce himself. He'll be one of your new points of contact moving forward, but just wanted to say that it's been an honor to help serve your communities over the past several years since we took over this area after 2022. I love all 5 of these cities. It's been great getting to know all of you and your residents. So thank you for a lot of fond memories that I'll always have from my time working for Senator Allen.
Thank you, Davis, for all of your help in our districts, and good luck on your next chapter.
Congratulations, Davis.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, I'm Nick Ferries. I will be kind of taking over the area for Davis. Thank you, Davis, for the introduction and for everything you've done for the office for the past few years.
Thank you. Now we will move on to California Highway Patrol Officer Cody Sturgis from the West Valley Station.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Officer Sturgis with the West Valley office. I've been here for about 3 years. I'm filling in for Casey Ramstead while he's on vacation for the month. And so I want to discuss with you guys some stats from our Malibu task force and also crashes that have been occurring in the canyons. So the task force started in October 17th, and the totals I have are until July 7th of this year. They've issued 1,717 speeding tickets for 100 miles an hour or less, issued 3 citations for over 100 miles an hour, and they have 1 reckless driving citation. They have 10 for unsafe lane changes or turning movements, 6 for falling too close, 33 for distracted driving, so that'd be like cell phones, and then other violations like crossing double yellows and stuff like that. They have 84 citations. They have 13 seatbelt citations, 129 equipment violations. They've given 96 warnings. They've stored or impounded 5 vehicles. They have 4 non-DUI arrests. That includes pursuits, warrants. They recently had a pursuit where there was a parolee at large, and they were able to take him into custody. And they have 3 DUI arrests. One of those was a DUI driver. He had his children in the car, and they were able to get the children to safety, and the driver is being charged with child endangerment. From what they told me, they said they're seeing some issues between Trancas Canyon and Corral Canyon in the construction zone. They're seeing a lot of speed in the construction zone. Also seeing a very large increased pedestrian traffic. And so they're really focusing on issuing speeding citations due to that, because I've seen it, pedestrians are always crossing back and forth on PCH, and so they're trying to slow people down. They've also been assisting with Malibu parking enforcement, so I know they've also issued some parking citations as well. And they have a total of 1,996 citations they've issued since the start of the contract. And they have 3 officers that are working it. 2 of them are on swing shift, so that's from 12 to 10:30 at night. And then they have 1 in the morning from 5 a.m. to 3:30. And then as far as the crashes go, I wanted to talk about June of, so last month, and also June of the previous year, to kind of give you an idea of how things have changed. So June of this year, this includes Malibu and the canyon areas, We've had 27 crashes. There was 11 that were property damage only, 15 that were injury crashes, 7 were hit and runs. There was 1 fatal accident involving a motorcycle. There were 2 DUI arrests, both were alcohol. And 1 was other than driver, where someone had swerved into their lane and they had to take evasive action and crashed. Some of the violations we're seeing that cause these accidents were failing to yield properly when entering a highway. Unsafe turning movements, that was 10 of them. So that's people swerving, veering off the road. Someone making an improper left turn. 2 improper lane changes. Good amount of unsafe speed. 8 crashes were due to unsafe speed for conditions. So that's whether they're negotiating a curve in the road or something like that, and they're just driving too fast. 1 for crossing double yellows in the oncoming traffic. And then 1 was considered unknown based off of the statement that was provided. And then as far as June, there was actually less crashes June of last year. There were 20 instead of 27. There were 3 DUI crashes though, so there was more in the previous year. And then there's also 1 fatal motorcycle crash, which is something we typically see in the canyons, as usually our fatal accidents in the canyons are involving motorcycles. 12 of those crashes were injury, 7 were property damage, and then the 1 fatal, and 2 were hit and run. So we're seeing a lot of increases in hit and run accidents across the board, even on the freeways and everything like that. So if you can get a license plate, we don't want you to follow them, chase them, or anything like that, but if you can get a license plate number for those vehicles, then we can do follow-up on those vehicles. Unfortunately, there's no cameras or anything in the canyon, so just be aware that these people could be dangerous, and that's why they're fleeing. So just if you can get a license plate, we can use that to track them down, but otherwise don't engage. And as far as the RVs, so we're having an issue with that as well in PCH. Outside of Malibu City, the limits, because I know the sheriffs handle Malibu. But same thing, lots of RVs piling up. We're getting plenty of calls on them, but in particular, I'm receiving calls that they're dumping human waste into the ocean, which I don't suspect that's uncommon, because from what I'm told, these RVs can only hold stuff for 3 to 5 days. And so some of the calls I'm receiving are people taking the waste and walking over to the ocean or over a bridge that's over like a river that leads into the ocean, and they're dumping it. So that's something we're working on to combat. I've been out there writing parking tickets, towing vehicles as much as I can, but we're a little bit limited here right now. I'm in the PIO position, so there's only really 1 of us out there at any given time. We're working on bringing back an enforcement unit of another 2 officers that can assist with homeless issues and the parking issues on PCH. And then also, if any of the host team members are still here, I'm going to leave my contact information. This goes for everyone as well. So I want to get in touch with them so we can see if we can work together on this RV issue. And also, if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, like I said, I'm going to leave my email in the chat there so everyone can send those to me. And then if you see reckless driving or anything like that in the canyons and you're able to get a license plate, you can forward that to my email and I can issue a complaint letter to them explaining that they were observed driving erratically, dangerously, kind of put them on notice that they're being watched. And
I have a question for you. When you specifically say in the canyons, where does that start for you? Like,
so for us, we do have Topanga, but I know they're not represented here, but it's pretty much everything from Topanga over to Canaan, and then even part of the 23 we handle.
But what about like Mulholland Highway?
Mulholland Highway, yes. So we cover that entire area pretty much from the 101 down to PCH in between those areas. So that's everything we cover, but one of the main problems we have is the amount of people we have. So typically we only have 1 officer specifically assigned to that canyon region on a given day. unless we have, say, 10 people working. If we do have 10 people working, then we have another one in the canyons. But we have pretty limited bodies is one of the issues we're running into.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Actually, I'd like to, this is Sergeant Suarez with the host team. I don't have access to the chat. I've only got you on phone. So can I give you my email so we can contact later?
Yes, I'm ready.
It's G.A. Suarez, that's SUAREZ at LASD.org.
G.A. Suarez at LASD.org.
Correct.
Okay.
And
you.
I'm going to call on Lieutenant Kitchen, who has his audio working.
Hopefully you can hear me now.
You got it.
Perfect. If I was a smart man, I'd have my 8-year-old walk me through this to teach me how to use this. But I just wanted to step in for a second and once again say thank you. Thank you to Terry. Thank you to this entire COG for being supportive. With the addition of Captain Rich Ruelas is truly a game changer. We have the ability to go out and investigate those fires immediately. And when we say fires, whether it be cooking or just a fire lit that was negligent in some case, we are going to be actively pursuing charges against them because negligence in the high fire severity zone, we will not tolerate. So we will be collecting the evidence if possible through his investigation and ensuring that we do submit those to the DA for a criminal filing. With him, we could pull the stats. So we're looking constantly at statistics on where these brush fires are starting. So if we can relate them to a particular homeless encampment, we're going out there. We're working with Office of Emergency Management. I know Captain C2 alluded to it, working with them proactively when those red flag warnings are issued. We're proactively going in the canyons. Private property still is a little challenge for us. So we ask that if you do have problem areas, you connect with those property owners and give us letters of agency. So then we can then go on the property and remove people if it is private property. One of the other things, I know someone jumped in with the recent overturning of Grants Pass, and Captain C2 also alluded to it. We're going to be guided, and Captain C2 and I are in lockstep with this. It has to be legal, moral, and ethical. So outside of that, we're open to any outside of the box thinking. The one thing that hampers us, and I know you hear from constituents, well, now you can enforce. And she alluded to it. Well, what does enforcement mean? We can give tickets because some of the behavior breaks down to misdemeanors or infractions. So enforcement is not going to solve the problem. No one is going to go to jail for some of these misdemeanors or infractions. And I'll open it up to anybody here. If you have a town hall event or an event that you would like to contact us to contact any of your constituents who live within your areas that are talking about enforcement, we'd be glad to talk to them. Because I'm doing the same thing down in unincorporated Gardena, kind of like South Central areas, where they're also severely impacted by the homeless population. So a lot of it is educating on what enforcement means. We do have, the judiciary has set up guidelines of what we can and cannot take to jail. The simple laws of arrest, if it's a misdemeanor not committed in our presence, we cannot make a lawful arrest. That would have to be a private person's arrest. And again, for some of these, it would simply be a citation and released in the field. So there's certain things we can take to jail and certain things we can't. And I don't want to take too much of your time, but I appreciate everybody. And sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. I can take any questions if you have them.
Are there any follow-up questions? We appreciate everything that you're doing and that you stayed on the call this whole time.
Thanks, Bill.
No problem. I just had to switch devices. I go to my go-to line is I'm a U.S. Marine veteran, so I prefer crayons instead of technology.
Well, thank you so much for all the work that's being done, and we support all the efforts.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you as well.
Yep. And now we're going to turn to our Cal Cities monthly update, which is included in the agenda on pages 11 to 12. Jeff, would you like to highlight your update?
Yes, please. I just wanted first to answer Kelly's question. That number didn't immediately jump out and I didn't recognize it immediately, but as soon as I looked it up, I realized what you were asking. AB 2797 is the carrier of last resort for AT&T and others. That bill did die, didn't even get a hearing. So that is good news. With the CPUC's action, this should halt that unless AT&T or others want to come back and raise it again next year. We'll certainly be keeping an eye out for that. Legislature comes back on the 5th. I wanted to also update retail theft. I know it's included in my report, but we are seeing the back and forth between the governor and the legislature and the DA's association. So we have if everything returns back to the way that we're told it will, the operability clause that would have repealed these measures had the DA's measure passed in November, that has been will be pulled out of these measures so that they will actually go into effect. With that change, Cal Cities will be back in support of all of the retail theft bills that are still moving. And so that is some good news. Another bill that I wanted to highlight, AB 1164, this would have exempted any addition of ADUs on the property to your property tax. That bill, although hasn't officially been killed, we're told the author is no longer going to be moving forward. That obviously would impact cities' property tax revenues, and we were opposed to that one. The update I want to give for, because it has happened since my report was put together, our board met last week and took up the 3 different ballot measures and came to a support position on Senator Allen's Prop 4. That's the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, and Drought Preparedness Bond. We are also going to be in support of Prop 5. That's the one that was ACA 1. That's the local government financing affordable housing and public infrastructure, lowering that vote threshold for bonding to 55%. And then we are also in support now of the DA's measure. That's Prop 33, officially titled the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act. Just make mention, obviously, we have, I know the incoming president of the division will be sworn in on August 1st at the Santa Anita Park in Arcadia. Michael Cow of Arcadia is becoming the mayor of that city today in their rotation. And I did just want to mention he is hopeful that the COG might be coming together in person before the end of the year. He'd love to come out and have a chance to meet all of you in person. He wants to get out and see the regions and talk to everyone there. So that is my report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Any questions? Thank you. Now we will move on to our one action item, which is an amendment to the contract with Fiber Consultant to perform additional work on the Smart Cities Regional Fiber Network. I would like to call on Terry to provide background on this item.
I will, but before we do that, I would like to introduce Nick Fox Robbins from Metro. He's the new community relations liaison that's now working for Karen Swift, which is exciting to have Karen in that position. And I wanted to just extend a welcome to Nick.
Thanks so much, Terry, and good morning and hello, everyone. My name is Nick Fox Robbins. Karen has been promoted to Deputy Executive Officer, and I will be now stepping in for Stephanie Molin, who I think was representing Metro at these meetings previously. And the Community Relations Department has undergone a great period of growth. And so now that we're getting the staff that we need, I will be the permanent fixture for Metro at these COG meetings. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you and working with all of you. I have been at Metro now for 8 weeks. So there's, a strong learning curve. There's a lot to take in, a lot to figure out within all my different areas. So I do ask for a little bit of patience as far as just, helping me to understand what I don't yet know. What I do know about this community is that I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I spent a lot of my youth in Calabasas, Agoura Hills, Hidden Hills, Malibu. So I'm very familiar with the area. I'm familiar with a lot of the concerns that, I've heard today, fires, public safety, homelessness, goats. And I, firsthand, my family lost a home in the Paradise Fire. So it is something that is an issue that I understand on a personal level and know that it's important. Obviously, it doesn't directly correlate with Metro's work, but I just sort of want to say that as an introduction to who I am and what I'm sort of bringing into, coming into these meetings.
Thanks, Nick.
Oh, just the last thing I wanted to note is I do
Okay.
know that Measure M funds for, and that's the next item that comes up, I think, is the potential funding for the fiber optics. This is an issue that I'm aware of, but I look forward to learning more about. And I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and I encourage all of you to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Nick. Welcome. And now I will turn it back to Terry for a quick update on the fiber network.
I know we're running long. I wasn't anticipating that, but this is important, but I will make it brief. Basically, I'm asking the governing board to approve 2 amendments to the contract that we have with Magellan and Trust. The first one is just a housekeeping, a name change. Magellan and Entrust have merged and they're now EN Engineering. So that's the first amendment. And then the second one is with regard to the additional services that I briefed the governing board on at the last meeting. And that's to include having EN Engineering with Jory Wolf and Will Murat, who have been very helpful in this process over the past 9 months to assist in the partnership RFP with the internet service provider who would operate and maintain the COGS fiber project. In addition, they would assist in partnership negotiations, the drafting of the partnership agreement, and most importantly, a market assessment that could be used, that will be used in the negotiations with the internet service providers that the COG attracts for possible operation and maintenance, because we do want to make sure that ISP is willing to expand the fiber network, which is part of the goal of the COG project, to get into commercial and residential areas to provide a high-speed fiber option for people in the community. So having that to use with a consult or with the ISP would be very important, because as you can imagine, as been previously mentioned, the internet service provider can say, oh, we're not going to make any money on this, so we can't do anything, that you're going to have to pay us, or anyway, having that market assessment is going to be very helpful for the COG in these upcoming negotiations. So having their expertise on board for the remainder of this pre-construction portion of the contract will be helpful. And as I previously mentioned, this additional funding for the contract amendment to include these items will be covered by Measure M. I've already had that approved by Metro, so there's no problem there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Terry? If there are not any questions, is there a motion to approve the contract amendments?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract amendments.
Is there a
second?
Perfect. There is a first and a second. Will the executive director call roll?
Nico Gold,
Aye.
Paul Grisanti,
Aye.
Kelly Honig,
Aye.
Penny Sylvester,
Aye.
President Weintraub.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank
Are there
you.
comments or requests for future agenda items? Okay. For future meeting dates, the COG has not held meetings in August due to vacations and difficulty in getting a quorum. So unless something unexpected comes up, the next meeting will be in September, Wednesday, September 4th for the TAC, and Tuesday, September 17th for the governing board meeting. Do we want to discuss having an in-person meeting in September? Terry, do you want to discuss that real quick?
Yes, it's certainly up to the governing board. I know that we had discussed having a holiday governing board meeting in November, since the governing board doesn't meet in December. So that would leave September, October, and November. If you wanted to have just one in-person meeting at some point, then maybe, or you could have the in-person meeting in September. I know that Supervisor Horvath indicated that she would like to attend an in-person meeting. And so I would suggest, if we want to do that, that it would be in September, and then we could do a kind of a more social meeting in November if you would like, but it's entirely up to the governing board.
Let's, should we confirm that she can definitely participate in the September meeting?
I can do that.
And then maybe we can coordinate offline.
Okay, I'll do that.
Because if she's not going to come, then we can keep it on Zoom.
Okay,
Okay,
happy to do that.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, then if there's no further business, we can adjourn this meeting.